Hello, this is Mike Kaufman, the author of the Motor Oil Bible, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch part 4 of my series, The Top 4 Reasons Not to Use Synthetic Oil. And before we get started with this particular portion of the series, I do need to take care of the necessary disclaimer. Unfortunately, it is necessary for me to issue a disclaimer indicating that the information I'm providing to you in this video is for entertainment purposes only. By watching the remainder of this video and or putting into practice any of its recommendations, you are releasing me from any and all liability that may result. Although I am a professional in the area of lubrication and filtration, you are advised to research these issues fully before deciding to implement any of my suggestions, and your decision is ultimately your own and releases me of all liability. Now, as I said, this is part 4 of what is now a 7-part series. Originally, it was going to be a 5-part series, but I've had to divide a couple of these into multiple parts. Now, if you haven't seen parts 1 through 3 yet, you may want to take a look at those before watching part 4. Simply click the little triangle to the right of this video or visit the website address listed below at motoroilbible.com. Now, in this particular portion of the series, we're going to discuss low-mileage drivers. Previously, I discussed older vehicles and why they may not be a good candidate for synthetic oil. But if you happen to be an individual who puts minimal mileage on your vehicle each year, maybe 10 to 12,000 miles, then it's my belief that synthetic oil may not benefit you as much as it costs you. So let's kind of delve in here a little bit. Part of what's fueling the switch to synthetic oil is sometimes this idea of improved fuel economy. And certainly one of the many benefits of making the switch to synthetic oil is an improvement in fuel economy. But not everyone is going to receive the full benefit of that fuel economy increase. In fact, oil drain intervals are going to matter in this case, and it might seem there's really no connection between the two, but the fact is the increased cost of synthetic oil changes can be offset by the fuel economy benefits, but only if oil drain intervals are extended. Otherwise, in the best case scenario, the costs are a wash, and in many cases it may even end up being more expensive using synthetic oil than using petroleum oil. So be sure to compare the costs. For instance, if you were to drive 10,000 miles per year as a low mileage driver, and you get about 20 miles to the gallon and you pay about $2.50 a gallon for fuel, then a standard 3% fuel savings, which is a pretty good bet with synthetic, somewhere between 2 to 5%, sometimes more, sometimes less, but a 3% fuel economy savings is going to be about $37 per year in savings. Now, at the same time, let's calculate our costs for the actual oil changes. Synthetic oil change at a quick lube probably going to run you $50, give or take, whereas a petroleum oil change is probably going to run about $20. Now, if you change oil every 4 months, which I think, especially with petroleum oil, is probably a good bet. Even if you're a low mileage driver, I wouldn't go any less frequently than about every 4 months. So let's say you move to synthetic, but you're like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with extended drains. I'm going to stick with every 4 months. Then you're going to pay $150 for 3 synthetic oil changes over the course of the year, and you're going to pay about $60 if you were alternatively to stick with petroleum oil for 3 petroleum oil changes. So moving to synthetic, you pay $90 more per year for synthetic oil changes, and you save about $40 in fuel. So switching to synthetic motor oil actually costs you about $50 extra per year. Now let's say you decide to extend your oil drains. You go to 6-month synthetic oil changes, which is probably a fine choice with most synthetic oils that are out there off the shelf. You could do 6 months without too much trouble. In that case, you're going to pay about $100 for 2 synthetic oil changes versus $60 if you were to stick with petroleum and change it 3 times a year. So in this case, you pay about $40 more for the synthetic oil changes, but you save about $40 in fuel, so that makes your costs a wash. Switching to synthetic motor oil costs you about the same as if you stayed with petroleum. Now let's take the scenario a little bit further. Let's push the envelope a little bit and say that you go to 1 year synthetic oil changes. You only do 1 change per year, in which case that costs you about $50 for synthetic oil changes versus $60 if you stuck with petroleum and changed it 3 times a year. So in that case, you don't really save much there on oil changes, maybe $10, but you save about $40 in fuel, so your total savings over the course of the year is $50. Still not all that incredible, but at least it's a savings. But that's only if you go to an extended drain capable oil. And they do exist out there. Mobil 1 has their extended performance, which is a 1-year change. Castrol Edge is a 1-year change. You know, AMSOIL and Neo are some premium synthetic oils out there that offer 1-year changes or 25,000 miles. So it is possible to do 1-year oil changes. But if you go that route, expect that the cost of the oil change will be a little more probably than $50. You know, if you do it yourself, you could probably get away for $50 or less. But if you have it done, yeah, $60 or $70. So, you know, that $50 savings might only be 30 or 40, but it's still a savings. It's just not very much. So, but even in the best case scenario, it's a very meager savings if you're a low mileage driver. So let's consider a high mileage driver and see how they fare. Many realtors and plumbers, contractors, and the like can easily put 50 or 60,000 miles on a vehicle each year. So let's see what kind of savings they would come up with. So if they're driving 50,000 miles per year, and let's say they go to one of the super premium synthetics like AMSOIL or Neo, and which go 25,000 miles, then they would change their oil twice per year. So that's about $120 per year at $60 an oil change for synthetic, versus approximately $200 for petroleum oil changes, because to go 50,000 miles, they're going to need to change probably at least every 5,000 or 6,000 miles, which is about 10 petroleum oil changes. So that'd be about $200. So here they save about $80 per year on their oil changes, and then 5 times as many miles, 50,000 miles, means 5 times as much fuel, but also 5 times as much savings from a 3% increase in fuel economy. So that's an additional $200 a year saved on fuel. So their total savings is $200 per year if they use an extended drain capable synthetic oil. So that being the case, then what about a fleet? A plumbing company with 10 trucks all putting on 50,000 miles per year would save $2,800 per year on fuel expenses and oil change expenses just from making the switch to synthetic. So you can see here that low mileage equals low benefit. Fuel economy isn't really going to benefit a low mileage driver all that much, whereas with a higher mileage driver it can become a significant benefit. So is it really worth it to make the switch to synthetic? What about engine protection? That's a benefit that's touted by a lot of people. Would that be a useful benefit to a low mileage driver? And you're going to have to wait till next time to find out, because as it turns out I have to split this video too, because I'm pushing 8 minutes and YouTube will only accept 10. So to answer that question, you're going to have to come back around for the next installment of this, what is now a 7-part mini-series. And so Part 5 will be coming soon. Remember, this is Part 4 of this 7-part series, so check the playlist by clicking the triangle to the right and see if maybe you've come after the fact and some of those subsequent parts have already been released and you can watch them right now. So if they are, feel free to watch them. If not, then expect Part 5 to be forthcoming. And it says leased vehicles, but because the parts have changed, it actually won't be. It'll be a continuation of this low mileage driver section. Follow me if you want to know when they're going to be released. I'll notify you of future installments. You can follow me through Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Look on MotorOilBible.com for the options available to follow me, or become a member of the blog. I'll notify all members of the blog when new installments of this video series come out. And tell your friends and relatives, because each person that you tell and who comes to the site and takes part in this has a chance of receiving a free copy of the Motor Oil Bible. You do as well. But each person that comes to the site has that opportunity. So spread the word. Either click the envelope at the bottom toolbar of this video, or the spread the word button at the bottom right if you're on the Motor Oil Bible website, and get the word out, because every person that comes to this site, if they get a chance and they get one of these 1,000 free copies that I'm giving away, they can give one to you too. So spread the word, and hopefully you'll both get a copy.